In late 2009, Disney bought Marvel Entertainment for $4 billion, and this would result in a massive change to the trajectory of both companies, both in terms of cinemas and at Disney parks worldwide. Today, I'm going to take you on a journey around the world, visiting each Disney resort and showing what influence Marvel has had on each resort or park, what is still yet to come, and what I think could come later on in the future. So join us on this heroic adventure through the last 15 years or so, and I will show you the past, the present, and the future for Marvel at the Disney Resort, and why it is a subtle takeover of the parks and beyond. Okay, so let's get the obvious one out of the way, and let's start with Walt Disney World. In most of the time since the acquisition of Marvel in 2009, there has been very little done with regards to the Marvel IP being integrated into Walt Disney World, especially given the immense popularity of the franchise in the United States. This will be down to the well-known fact that local rivals Universal have the rights to use of Marvel characters in theme parks east of the Mississippi River as part of an agreement made between Marvel and Universal back in the 90s. Therefore, this leaves a huge amount of characters from Marvel that Disney are unable to use at all in their biggest resort. However, this hasn't been entirely the case. Doctor Strange has been able to make appearances at Hollywood studios. Under the agreement, it is not advertised and no use of the Marvel name is used. He's also very popular appearing at Jollywood Nights in recent years at Hollywood studios. A shop has also recently opened in Disney Springs in recent years called Superhero Headquarters, initially again without the Marvel name, but this was later changed through a minor adjustment / clause in the agreement and is now clearly promoted as a Marvel branded shop at Disney Springs. Disney has also been able to use bus wraps to promote Marvel related film and TV series in recent years. But quite simply, the biggest moment for Marvel at Walt Disney World came with the opening of Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind at Epcot in May of 2022. This was made possible because the Guardians of the Galaxy characters were more obscure and not covered by the Marvel deal signed with Universal in the 90s, which is more related to the more popular characters of the time, such as the Avengers, X-Men, Fantastic Four, and all the characters related to them teams. Because Guardians were not one of these, nor are they related to any of them teams, it gave Disney the opportunity to finally bring a Marvel attraction to a Walt Disney World theme park for the first time since the 2009 purchase of the company. So that takes us right up to the present day. So regarding the future of Marvel at Walt Disney World, there has been numerous speculation over years with the growing popularity of both Black Panther and Wakanda through the two films that have recently been released as part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and due to its slight connection to nature, that it would work well and come to Disney's Animal Kingdom. However, for the same reason as other characters, if he has a link to the Avengers in the comics, his character in Wakanda falls into the Universal Marvel deal, and therefore this would not be possible currently. So personally, I cannot see there being many other developments relating to Marvel at Walt Disney World, unless by some miracle a deal is struck between the two companies, but this certainly wouldn't be of Universal's interest. Maybe if they can find loopholes again to let certain characters do unadvertised character meet and greets, this would be the only possibility I can see any time soon in the future of anything new at Walt Disney World relating to Marvel. If there was no restrictions, and if I put my Imagineering hat on, I would certainly say one thing I would love to see them do with Marvel at Walt Disney World would be using the brand as the overall theme for the long-rumoured fifth park at Walt Disney World. But however cool that sounds, I cannot see that ever happening anytime soon, especially, and Universal letting Disney have that potential in their back pocket. Now let's go over to the other coast and visit Walt's original park, Disneyland in California. This resort is still affected by the Universal and Marvel deal, but in a slightly different way. Because this resort sits west of the Mississippi River, this allows Disney to use the characters and stories in their theme parks, but they cannot promote anything under the Marvel branding. So, for example, Avengers Campus is just that, as a name in California Adventure. On contrary, Disneyland Paris, who we'll get to later on in the video, call their land in some advertisements Marvel's Avengers Campus. It's those subtle differences which show the effect of the Universal and Marvel deal for the California resort. For this resort's history with Marvel, we go back to our good old friends, the Guardians of the Galaxy. Following the immense success of their first film back in 2014, Disney immediately could see the newfound popularity of the characters and therefore decided to bring them to California Adventure. Rather than building a whole new attraction this time, Disney announced at San Diego Comic-Con in 2016 they would be retheming the popular Twilight Zone Tower of Terror in California Adventure, and this would change into Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, as announced by Joe Rohde himself. Despite the popularity of this attraction, the general opinion and reaction amongst fans of Disney was not a good one. Disney, however, still proceeded with the change and closed Tower of Terror in California Adventure in January of 2017. It would then quickly reopen on the 27th of May 2017 as Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, just over 4 months after the attraction's closure. The attraction proved an instant hit with fans and brought a new element of fun to the attraction as opposed to the spooky and haunted theme of the Twilight Zone prior, while still keeping the same ever-popular ride itself and experience. Following the success of Mission Breakout, Disney soon announced that an expansion would be taking over the adjacent A Bug's Life land, which would close in September 2018. After delays due to COVID, Avengers Campus would open in June 2021 with one new major attraction called Web Slingers, a Spider-Man adventure, along with a restaurant themed to Ant-Man called Pym Test Kitchen and a meet and greet show featuring Doctor Strange. However, this show closed in June 2024, but Doctor Strange still keeps making occasional appearances in the land. This is how the land operates today, with these two attractions, a restaurant and numerous character meet and greets. This was until D23 in 2024. Disney announced they would be converting an already existing Avengers HQ building within the campus and using it as a facade for 2 new attractions coming to the campus. One called Stark Flight Lab, which appears to be a Cougar robot arm type attraction, and Avengers Infinity Defense, which will be a multiversal adventure through famous Marvel locations and includes an encounter with King Thanos, a variant who actually won the battle in Infinity War and Endgame. Robert Downey Jr. was also announced as returning for both of these attractions and providing his voice. So there is already future excitement going into the future for this Disney resort when it comes to Marvel, with 2 brand new attractions on the way which have just started construction and appear to be making good progress. Although no other official opening date or year has been announced by Disney yet, this could very well be something that is announced next year at D23 in 2016. What else do I think could come in the future for this resort? It's hard to say. Certainly in the short term, after Infinity Defense and Flight Lab has opened, I certainly see the resort investing in other IPs and already announced attractions such as Coco and Avatar Land for California Adventure. Although the future certainly does look bright for the resort for future expansions, with the agreed Disney Forward proposal. The plans will free up plenty of space for both parks at the resort for expansions. It was already speculated by some looking at the blue sky artwork provided with this proposal that we may see Wakanda feature somewhere in these expansions, looking to be connected to California Adventure. However, all this is certainly up for change. Wouldn't it also be cool if it was in Disneyland Park and you had to go through Adventureland, similar to how you get to Pandora at Animal Kingdom in Walt Disney World, and it merges gradually all on its own and a land based on Wakanda comes out at the end? That would be really cool, I think. Putting my Imagineering hat on again, the only thing I would do myself is maybe to spice things up. I would revive Disneyland's Tomorrowland with a complete retheme of their Space Mountain, and this time base it on the new Fantastic Four movie. I don't know why, but after seeing Disney this summer put their temporary meet and greet to promote the new film in Tomorrowland instead of Avengers Campus like they have done with other MCU films in the past, it just made me start to think that indeed it would be a better fit there, anything related to the new Fantastic Four, and I think a retheme of Space Mountain to something to do with this Fantastic Four movie would be really cool and something interesting and different for this resort. Let me know in the comments what you think to that idea. Now let's go over the Pacific and onto the last resort who has been held back since 2009 by a deal with Universal, the Tokyo Disney Resort. This resort, similar to Walt Disney World, has been prevented from adding anything related to Marvel or using their brand due to a different agreement though, made by Marvel before they were purchased by Disney in 2009. This deal lasted 20 years with Universal for the Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man at Universal Studios Japan from 2004 to 2014, with the ride closing a day short of 20 years of operations in January 2024. Now this deal has expired, this does allow Disney and the Oriental Land Company to freely use the Marvel IP however they wish within the Tokyo Disney Resort. No attractions have been announced, but in 2024, Marvel characters were added for the first time to their nighttime show, and it was recently announced that their version of It's a Small World would close in September 2024 for a Marvel overlay, and changing its name to It's a Small World with Groot. It has been recently announced that this attraction will reopen in December 2025. The overlay will reopen with scenes now featuring Groot vacationing through the countries featured on the ride, along with some of other Marvel characters such as Black Panther, Thor, Captain Marvel and Hulk. Besides this, we'd seem to be in the very early days of Marvel coming to the Japanese resort. However, don't expect a massive push here for two main factors. First, the resort isn't owned or operated by Disney. This is the role of the Oriental Land Company. Disney only licensed them the use of their characters, but it all comes down to the Oriental Land Company's decision on what is added or removed from the park. Secondly, Marvel is not as big of a franchise in Japan and therefore might not be as much of a priority to the Oriental Land Company to bring further attractions and shows to the parks, especially in the short term. This is also similar to Star Wars, where it is not as popular in Japan, so there isn't a big push, and only attraction is Star Tours, which opened in 1989, but other than changes to what the attraction is, similar to other parks around the world to Adventure Continues, nothing else Star Wars related has been done at the resort. Personally myself, I would have to agree based on this theory with Star Wars. I could see limited offerings done for Marvel by the Oriental Land Company and see them prioritise other Disney franchises in the future that prove more popular for the Japanese market. But never say never, with some land still available for expansion, maybe they see this as a chance to grow the interest in the franchise, especially maybe using the Spider-Man character, who still proves popular in Asia. However, our friendly neighbourhood Spider-Man is plotting on taking over 2 other Disney resorts in Asia within the next few years. More to come on that in a moment. Now, over to Hong Kong Disneyland, still the only Disney resort in the world aside from Shanghai, which opened 9 years ago, to only have just one park. However, their presence for Marvel at Disney parks has been the torchbearer and leading the way for other resorts over many years. It all started in October 2013. The then chairman of Walt Disney Parks and Resorts, Thomas O'Staggs, announced Hong Kong Disneyland would add a Marvel-themed attraction as part of an expansion to their Tomorrowland. It would be called the Iron Man Experience, and this would be the first Marvel attraction on any Disney property in the entire world. After several years of construction, it opened in January 2017 following some soft openings in late 2016, and uses the same ride system as Star Tours, an attraction the park didn't have prior. Following its success, it was announced the nearby Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters would close in August of 2017 to make way for their second Marvel attraction, a retheme of the ride based on Ant-Man and the Wasp. In March 2019, Ant-Man and the Wasp Nano Battle opened to the public and became the first area in a Disney park to have multiple attractions themed to Marvel. The attraction uses the same system as Buzz previously, as you join Scott and Hope in a battle against Arnim Zola and his Hydra Swarm bots. Since this, nothing else has been added to the area or the park as an attraction except for a previously announced third expansion, which appeared to be a Quinjet Avengers ride, which never materialised beyond the initial reveal and concept art until last year at D23.
2017, Hong Kong welcomed the Stark Expo to Tomorrowland with the Iron Man experience. And then 2 years later, we debuted Ant-Man and the Wasp Nano Battle to round out the expo there. And now I'm excited to share that we're working to open up the next edition to the expo. So it seems Hong Kong fans, all right. All right, awesome. Tony Stark and the Avengers have invited some of the most brilliant scientists from across the Marvel Universe to collaborate on some new technology and inventions. He's even invited a young Peter Parker as an up-and-coming science intern. And I just gotta say, the fact that Peter Parker is there is completely unrelated to the fact that Spider-Man is in this rendering. Can we just all agree on that? Okay, thank you. Unfortunately, all of this new tech draws the type of attention you never want from one of Spider-Man's most formidable villains. So now Peter, has to save the day and us, and we get caught up right in the middle of all this action. It's going to be a huge, literally, addition to Hong Kong Disneyland. Yeah, sounds great.
It was announced a new Spider-Man attraction would join the lineup in the Mini Stark Expo area of Hong Kong's Tomorrowland, featuring concept art with Spider-Man himself, Doc Ock, and what clearly appears to be a replica of the Tower of Terror ride system, a ride the resort was yet to have. This seemingly replaced what was once going to be the Quinjet Avengers attraction. Little more was said about this attraction at the time until a recent post by Disney Parks blogs revealing a slight change had been made to the attraction, still featuring Spider-Man, but new concept art revealed more Marvel characters like Thor, Black Panther and Doctor Strange. Along with outside concept art being released of the building itself, it is very clear that this will be Hong Kong Disneyland's version of Tower of Terror with an Avengers theme and unique storyline. No opening time frame was provided other than construction has now begun. Now, on to Shanghai Disneyland, Disney's newest park that has only been open for 9 years, but as a first for any Disney park, it opened with a Marvel attraction. Marvel Universe is a meet and greet pavilion as part of the Gardens of Imagination area, featuring Marvel characters alongside costumes and props from the movies. Since this, there has been no further additions relating to Marvel until last year's D23 event again.
About how excited I am for the next phase of development for these characters in our parks. Earlier this year, we hinted at a big new attraction in the works for Shanghai Disneyland, so let's go ahead and start right there.
That's a great idea. And we're really excited about this one because it's the first time we're going to tell a Marvel story in a major attraction in Shanghai. And that story features one of Marvel's most enduring and globally popular characters, a longtime personal favorite of mine, Spider-Man. Now, this is going to be a high-energy thrill coaster with all the excitement of a Marvel story. Now, I don't want to give away the story, but it seems that Peter Parker has gotten himself, well, and us, in a bit of a tight spot. And weirdly, it seems that wherever Peter goes, Spidey's not so far away. Coincidence? Yeah, well, we'll find out. So we're going to have to follow Spidey at very high speeds to get us out of trouble. It's going to be a real thrill ride.
Hold on.
Shanghai would be getting the first ever Spider-Man roller coaster attraction and a whole land themed around the character and the Worldwide Engineering Brigade, also known as WEB, which has been prominent at other Avengers Campus sites. However, this has not been confirmed to be another campus site. It does appear, however, the spider bots from the attraction found in other Avengers campuses will return to wreak more havoc and likely be the cause of all the chaos in the ride storyline, which Disney is calling a high-energy thrill coaster featuring Spider-Man. The ride went into vertical construction this year, but no confirmation or a time frame for opening has been made yet. Beyond this attraction, who knows where it will take the franchise in the park or the resort. Looking at where this Spider-Man land will be built, it takes up a nice little expansion slice between the new Zootopia expansion and Treasure Cove. Therefore, I wouldn't think another add-on could be done in this area, nor at this stage can I see any other areas which are obvious for expansion. Likewise, I have never visited this resort, so I couldn't accurately comment, but let us know in the comments if you've been to Shanghai Disneyland, and if there were to add any more Marvel attractions, where should it be and what characters should it be based on? Maybe an Avengers attraction, potentially, so that it could feature a lot of heroes in one ride. Let us know in the comments what you guys think. Now, on to the last resort of our world tour with Disney parks, Disneyland Paris Resort. And this resort has quite the storied history with Marvel, stretching back to the closest yet to when the Disney agreement was made to buy Marvel back in 2009. It was back in the early 2010s, after acquiring Marvel and having no restrictions to not allow them to use the Marvel brand like the parks in America. Disney were considering building a third park as part of their agreement with the French government, but this time having a full park themed on Marvel. However, we now know that this never came to fruition, but this did not stop Disneyland Paris from wanting to bring them to the resort. In 2017, Bob Iger announced at D23 that year the New York on-site hotel would close for a major refurbishment and a subtle retheme to Marvel, to be called Hotel New York, The Art of Marvel. This hotel would reopen in June 2021 after the COVID pandemic, displaying the largest collection of Marvel-themed art anywhere in the world. It also included reimagined restaurants and bars to fit in with the world of Marvel, along with its own dedicated Marvel meet and greet center called Superhero Station, with backdrops based on Marvel Cinematic Universe films. In 2018, it was announced that the backlot area of the Walt Disney Studios Park would be converted to Avengers Campus, similar to its California counterpart, with the addition of another Web Slingers ride, but this time called Spider-Man Web Adventure, and also a total retheme of Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith into Avengers Flight Force, which features Iron Man and Captain Marvel as the main characters, but the roller coaster ride itself stayed the same, with the main changes happening everything else around the ride and the ride building itself. Following delays due to COVID, the land opened in July 2022 and was a major improvement on what was there before. The campus included a dedicated meet and greet centre, 2 new restaurants, and of course the 2 new rides that I have just mentioned. One, a retheme of an existing popular attraction, and a brand new one replacing a very unpopular attraction. A nighttime spectacular featuring Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch began, called Doctor Strange Mystery of the Mystics, which ran until 2015 in March, but has recently returned once more to the Paris version of Avengers Campus. There was also much speculation as part of this changeover to Avengers Campus that the Paris version of Tower of Terror in the park would also get the same treatment as its California counterpart. This went away once concept art for the park's transformation to Adventure World revealed no change to the Tower of Terror building, and recently, in September 2019, the ride had a slightly reimagining, but kept the Twilight Zone theme with a subtle change to the ride storyline, and more of a focus on the little girl as part of the story. I personally don't see this being a change that will happen anytime, if ever. The ride now fits nicely in the new World Premiere Plaza area. It also is getting a new undercover queue area and this new version of the ride is now regarded by many as the best version in any Disney park around the world. So I think Paris is onto a winner and it should be kept as it is. In my opinion, I don't see any other significant Marvel attraction coming to the resort anytime soon, as they seem now fully focused on their expansions to do with Adventure World, and after that is open next year, they'll move on to the already announced Lion King Land soon after. However, there is a nice parcel of land currently occupied by the Theatre of the Stars, which today hosts the Alice in Wonderland BMX show between Avengers Campus and the future Lion King Land, which I think could be perfect to expand Avengers Campus in Paris sometime in the future. To me, the most likely option would be if the Avengers Infinity Defense ride is proven very popular over in California once it opens. I could see this making its way to the Paris version of the campus as well, and I think would fit nicely just in that area, and could even use a bit of the meet and greet facade currently in the campus as an entrance to the ride too. Or they could do something completely new and take a leaf out of Shanghai Disneyland's book. Anyone fancy an outdoor roller coaster themed to Captain America, or dare I say, maybe Hulk? Let me know in the comments. It's not just the Disney theme parks which are getting in on the Marvel fun in recent years. The Disney cruise lines have been as well. In October 2017, Disney held their first Marvel Day at Sea aboard the Disney Magic cruise ship whilst cruising from New York to the Bahamas. It is now a staple event each year at various times on a limited basis, allowing guests a whole day themed as part of their cruise to Marvel, with special activities and character meet and greets aboard the ship. Over time since, the ship's Oceaneer Kids Clubs began adding Marvel-themed areas for younger guests to immerse themselves in the world of Marvel. The first major permanent Marvel feature for a cruise line ship was in 2022 with the launch of the Disney Wish, which featured a restaurant called Worlds of Marvel as part of their rotatory evening dining. It was then added to the Disney Treasure for its inaugural sailing in 2024, and will also be on the Disney Destiny when it sails for the first time later this month in November 2025. All the World of Marvel restaurants put guests in the middle of a unique storyline set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, with actors reprising their roles from the films whilst guests dine with exceptional food and drink. It was also announced that the Disney Destiny will take things one step further and feature a Doctor Strange Sanctum Lounge, a Black Panther statue in the lobby, and Spider-Man at the stern of the ship. The Destiny Tower Suite will also be themed to Iron Man, so the newest ship will most certainly be the most influenced to date with Marvel out of any Disney Cruise Line ship in the fleet. However, once Disney Adventure sets sail in 2026 over at Singapore, this could well take the record quickly from the Destiny, as it will feature a dedicated Marvel superhero makeup studio, Marvel Web Workshop featuring Spider-Man in their Oceaneers Kids Club, and an area called Marvel Landing. This area, one of 7 themes on the ship, will feature a mini Marvel-themed theme park at sea, with Groot Galaxy Spin, a spinner ride, Quantum Racers, a mini car attraction, and the main event, Disney's first coaster at sea, Iron Cycle Test Run. It will also be the longest roller coaster at sea, stretching 820 feet or 250 meters. There will also be a Marvel stage show as well called Avengers Assemble on the garden stage in Disney Imagination Garden aboard the ship, featuring Spidey, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Black Panther, and other fan favourites as they battle Marvel villains live on stage for guests. As you can see, this ship sails next year. When it does, it will certainly have the most Marvel influence of any other ship in the fleet. You can see a pattern also beginning to emerge here. Disney look to be using Marvel much more on their newer ships, creating a much bigger presence, especially with the permanent features of the ships going forward, and that is something I can see continuing even more into the future. So that concludes our journey around the world through the Disney parks and resorts, both on land and at sea. You can see it may have taken some time, but Marvel now in most places for Disney is a cornerstone for each of its resorts, and I think if not for the Universal deal in Florida, we would see a much bigger presence in Walt Disney World. You never know what the future holds, but I certainly think this will continue into the future, both big and small, across all their properties, and Marvel will play a key part in any of their future plans, so long as the brand, and especially, I think, the Marvel Cinematic Universe continues with its popularity at the cinemas. There is still plenty to come, I'm sure. Especially if you think right now, around the world, there is approximately 4 rides being built based on Marvel right now and gone vertical this year with construction. This means in the next 3 to 5 years, we will see certainly a lot of promotion for Disney parks relating to new attractions based on Marvel, and is certainly an exciting time to be a Marvel fan who also loves theme parks. So let us know in the comments your thoughts of Marvel in Disney parks and on the cruise line ships. Do you love it? Dislike it? Think it should be more? Or think there should be less? Outside of what we have already discussed in this video, what other additions would you like to see in the parks or maybe on the cruise ships? Would you like to see it eventually come to Walt Disney World if possible? What do you think Marvel will do with the Disney Abu Dhabi Resort? Will they feature Marvel there? Will it feature at all or nothing? Let us know in the comments what you think is going to happen. And with all that being said, of course, if you like this sort of content, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to never miss another video. And with all that being said, I have one final thing to say to you all. Go out there and live life the smart way. Thank you for watching or listening. Take care, guys. Have a good day. Have a good evening.